got her chucked in there. This is a root ball from something. I have no idea. It's a rather light colored wood. It's really crazy. I'm going to try to leave this as a foot and these two as a foot. Carve out in the middle just a little bit and round it over. Try to save this piece and make it a nice little curve. I don't know, I'm not sure. I'd like to save a little of this one and then come back over here and start hollowing it. See what I can save and what I can't save. So I got it jammed in there. I got this collar screwed to it with good wood screws, not drywall screws because they'll break on you. I pre-drilled it and put wood screws. I got three, I don't know, about 2-inch. And then this one here is a heavy-duty deck screw, and that's buried into the wood probably over 1 inch just for catch what I could. But it's jammed into the chuck, and the chuck is expanded into a mortise. And then I got everything on this end jammed in there as tight as I could get it without it slipping. I really had to manipulate to get my tool rest in there. But I'm going to hit it right in this spot, give a little bit more room for my tool rest, and then bring it out this way. We'll see what happens. It's a little out of balance, but it's not heavy, so it shouldn't be too awful. It's rather light. It's pretty dried out wood. It may be yew wood, I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to get my face mask and headphones because there's going to be junk a-flying like this. But I'm going to try to keep as much of this character as I can. I'm not going to make it all nice and perfect. So here we go. Hey folks, I'm just out here tonight carving away on this wacky piece. I'll be putting up a video shortly. Well, you're watching it right now. How's that? But I just realized I went back and watched some of my older videos on the lathe and stuff, and I do some pretty risky stuff on it. And I noticed I got a couple new turners that have been watching my channel, and I never really gave any safety hints or anything, so I'd like to do that now before, you know, somebody gets in a little deeper in what they're used to and could get hurt, because if you don't set this stuff up right, it could actually fly off and really give you a whop in the skull or whatever. So first of all, I always hold on. I always use a face mask to protect me from the chips and stuff, and it's got the little top on it so it kind of covers my forehead. I won't make this too long. And also always earphones. But I just didn't go out and buy a lathe and just start working on it. I got like 40 years experience working with wood and machines, and I worked in a mill shop for probably 8 years down in New Orleans doing the architecture down there. And down there, if you made a little boo-boo with one of the machines, they would literally eat you. So just be real cautious. Start out small. Don't try to do weird looking vases and stuff like that until you get to know the wood and how it reacts. And some safety hints, like this piece here has a lot of checking in it, which are cracks in the wood. And before I ever put it on the lathe, I just soaked them with CA glue. I recommend everybody that turns wood or anything slightly rotten or dried out should have a big jug of CA glue. Basically it's super glue, but it's real thin, so it soaks way in there and glues the fibers together so the piece won't literally explode when you're turning it. Also with the tool, this is way too big of stuff for my little lathe, but I actually took the rubber feet off and bolted it right to the bench. That's why it kind of shakes the whole wall when I run it, so it's a little bit safer. I mean, this, you can't yank this thing off here. But anyhow, this is a normal gouge, roughing gouge. You can see the size of it, you know, store-bought. And the tools I use for this scary stuff, look at the difference in size of the handle. It gives you a lot more control, because when you cut on the lathe, as it's biting into wood and hitting these nubs, it tries to pull the gouge into the rest like this, which will, you know, could be scary. That's why I work with the extra long tools. And also, this roughing gouge is a lot more brittle than this steel, so this actually has some flex and give to it, so it can take the beating. Plus I have a carbide tip on it, which also will take the beating. So it's a little more safer. You won't have any steel breaking off and flying at you. Also, this allows me to stand way off to the side. And on this big stuff, you never stand in front of it. I'm always off to the side. So in case like a branch or whatever breaks off, it's not going to hit me. It's going to go, you know, hopefully go clear. So I just want to throw out a couple little safety tips so nobody gets themselves into trouble. You know, start off small till you get to know the wood. Stay away from like 2x4s and 4x4s, because they're really dried out and they have a tendency to chip and crack and stuff like that when you're going at high speeds. You're better off with air dried lumber. Some of the stuff you can get from the hobby stores, like the Padauk and stuff like that, they coat them in wax. It helps keep a little moisture into the wood, so they're a little more forgiving. All my stuff, a lot of it I turn green, so it's very forgiving. It may warp a little when it dries out, but if you make your vases and stuff thin, you won't have too much trouble with that. But you just kind of go with the flow. It's going to do what it's going to do. So the beauty of the piece, you know, like some of my bowls will warp a little bit, but the beauty of the piece is, you know, it doesn't bother me. This piece is pretty dry, but I just wanted to give you a couple safety hints. I mean, don't get into this stuff till you're ready. If you feel nervous cutting on the lathe, then back down and go back to some small stuff till you get a confidence. And you can actually, once you get to know the wood and your lathe, you can actually, like if the chuck starts to loosen up, you'll get a different vibration. And once you get to know that, you can back up and turn it off and check everything, which you should do periodically anyhow. So I'm not trying to discourage anybody, but just watch your butts. That's all. I don't want to see anybody get hurt that I know. I have some really good friends on YouTube, so happy turning, and I'm going to see what I can make out of this monstrosity. It may turn out, it may not. We'll find out kind of together. So here we go. I was able to get a nice line through the center pretty much all the way around, except for all the way around. Well, I actually got it all the way around. I thought I was going to have a skip here, but a little bit more touch up, I'll have a really nice angle there. It's coming out some really nice grain. Alright, I'll show you some more progress in a few. I'm going to try to bring this with a nice smooth taper all the way out and see what I end up with. So far it looks like I have enough meat where I'm not going to start losing these big chunks. We'll see. This one's got me a little worried. I might have to cut that off. Back on in a minute. Alright, I think I got it up just about as far as I can take it. I got a nice foot, nice center here. Ooh, I got a hump right there I need to get out. But it came up pretty nice and high here. I got it up here touching nice and high. And then I got this piece that's wing that sticks out nice and high. I think what I have to do is put it on the bandsaw and cut this here off and this stubby off, and then start the hollowing process, and it should look pretty interesting. So I'll smooth this up a little bit more, pop it off the lathe. I'll mark this so I can get it back the same, and then put it on the bandsaw and cut this off and get a new center, and then start the hollowing process. Alright, I've gotten in there just about as far as I can go and still have my center attached. It's time for that to come out. Made some pretty good progress. I decided I had this little ear. It was longer than the rest, so I rounded it over and see if I can get kind of a brandy snifter shape or goblet, whatever. I'm going to back my tailstock out of there and knock this off. Check everything, make sure everything's still tight, and then we'll move on from there. So far it's looking kind of neat. Let's see if we can get a little color out of this thing. Pardon the sirens. Maybe I broke the curfew. You know, it's pretty light, but it's got a nice chocolate color. Still not sure what kind of wood this is. Nice pattern though. Pretty interesting. I usually do a pretty heavy first coat because most of it soaks right in. If your wood's a little bit damp, this also slows down the drying process, so you have less chance of it cracking too. See a couple more cracks I might want to fill in. That's pretty interesting. I think it's worth the work. See what we can get out of it. How decent I can hollow it out. This rough stuff in here, if it don't disappear when I hollow it, I'll just wire brush it. But chances are most of this will disappear except for maybe a little cross here. This will probably be a hole. Depending how when I start thinning it up, depending how flimsy it starts getting, we'll have to see. Alright, that's all I'm going to do for tonight. I'll let this dry and set in. That way when I start hollowing it, the sawdust won't stick to it. And then we'll go from there. Looks pretty sweet so far. I really like this pattern. Hey? Alright, we'll turn you back on in a while when we get a little closer. See what it turns into. Just taking care of some little feathers and fuzzies around the edge, and then I think we're ready for a finish. I have to be real careful. I got the sides pretty thin, so I can't put too much pressure on it. The longest wing here is actually flexible. Alright, I'll get this cleaned up and get some finish on it and show you a couple more pictures. Alright, well, I got her off the lathe. The bottom I'll have to touch up at work. I have to sand it. It's pretty thick. One of my goofier pieces, a little lackluster, but Very challenging with those big huge wings. They're actually kind of flexible actually, but I like the idea of the foot using the natural roots. Actually it's the stalk, the roots are facing up. This is actually the bush branches as a foot. It's kind of bulky and stuff, but artsy fartsy. It's alright. Got some nice grain. I'll put up a couple stills. Hope you all enjoyed. Once again, be safe on your lathe, please. Wouldn't want anybody getting hurt. Does have some nice grain though. Ciao. Play nice.